Hey everyone, welcome back to Malts and Meeples, and welcome to the finale of the Should It Stay or Should It Go series. It's been, several streams, seven streams at this point, and 40 games currently on the to get rid of pile that are going to be going to that board game sale. I have stack of games on the table again because a lot of these were in the closet, so not necessarily the easiest to see. And well, let's talk about our drink for today. Working on a bottle of Islay Storm single malt scotch from the Islay section. That means this is going to be a nice and peaty scotch. Oh, it smells amazing. I've talked about this one before, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but it's basically like drinking a campfire in the best way possible. And I love a good peaty scotch, so yeah, this is one that is easily for me. Let's get started. We're going to start with two that are for sure not leaving the collection. And these are only representations of these games because I'm not pulling everything out for them. Though I'm going to talk about one thing here. So I have Dice Throwing that I'm going to be keeping. I didn't pull off the shelf Dice Throwing Adventures, which is basically an expansion for Dice Throwing where it turned it into a cooperative dungeon crawl kind of thing. You're exploring maps and then you fight a boss, explore a map, fight a boss, explore a map, fight a boss. I'm definitely not getting rid of regular Dice Throwing. I love that game. I have the Marvel stuff coming for it. Never get rid of it. But I've had Dice Throwing Adventures for a little while, and I even have the minis for it, the painted minis for it. So, am I going to play that? Or is that one that maybe should head out of my collection? Because, somebody just needs one of these boxes to be able to play it, at least at 2 players. And as much as I love Dice Throwing, I don't know that I see myself playing that cooperative one, because I love it for what it is, which is a head-to-head or King of the Hill style battling game. And you still have the battling element, but I think it's more fun, at least in theory, to kind of have that smack talk sort of thing going around along the table. Next up, Pitch Car. And this is Pitch Car Extension 8, which basically allows you to split and come back together while playing Pitch Car. And yeah, Pitch Car is probably never leaving my collection. It is up there with Ice Cool in terms of my favorite dexterity games. And more stuff for it that's what I want. I want more pieces for my track so I can make a bigger and bigger and bigger track, or just whatever sort of track I want. I'd love to actually pick up another base set. The issue is they're fairly expensive, but picking up a base set potentially could allow me to create 2 tracks if I wanted to. But also then it would give me some more of the standard pieces. And that's one negative I'll give for the game, is that there's not quite enough standard pieces in it. So, continuing on. Actually, let's talk about this one real quick first. Isle of Cats. Isle of Cats is staying. This one I actually talked about before. This is just the big box, which I need to build the insert for. as well as the new Kickstarter stuff. So, most definitely staying. Game that's been a lot of fun when I've played it. I do want to play it more. Let's talk then. And this one I found cheap at a used bookstore, or Goodwill actually. Need to double check to make sure everything's in there. But everything is. This one is going to be going away because, well, it's one I picked up cheap. I was thinking it was Kruba. It is Kruba the card game, which, I mean, is rated decently well enough on Board Game Geek, but it isn't the version that I was hoping or I was thinking about when I grabbed it. So, time to move on from that one. To go with Isle of Cats, we also have the Explore and Draw. This is going to be a roll and write sort of game for Isle of Cats, and you're filling up a boat, you're doing similar things, and you're activating, I believe, rows or maybe it's columns for the 3 different cards. And everybody's doing that, I think, at the same time. One I really want to try and play coming up here. Only roll and write. Nope. Take that back. There is one more roll and write. So, almost the only roll and write. Another one that's not going anywhere because I picked it up not that long ago. 2 boxes of it. Sea of Legends. Sea of Legends is a game that was on Kickstarter a while ago, and when it came out, it did not meet with the best reception. This is a pirate-themed game which has some really cool pieces to it where you're exploring. You have a nemesis, you have a lover, you have a specific captain, and that combination of those 3 things creates narrative for you. And that was all supposed to be done by an app. Well, and it all is being done by an app, but when it came out, the app was not up to par. And in all fairness, with the exception of maybe Fantasy Flight, most board game apps that help support it are not the best things out there. Fantasy Flight can do it because, well, they have Asmodee backing them, so they have the money to do it. Versus, I mean, I think this was a fairly new company that did Sea of Legends, an ambitious idea for a game, and there's almost no way it's not going to be buggy and glitchy when it comes out, which is probably why the person sold it. But if that's your issue with the game, and they're not stopping supporting the app, which it doesn't sound like they are, and I've heard the rulebook is bad, but they are continuing to put out updated versions of the rulebook, iterating upon it and getting better each time, I'm excited to try this one now that there's been enough time since the Kickstarter happened, since it was delivered, for them to fix a chunk of their mistakes. So, pirate-themed game, always interested in those. Gonna stick in the collection for sure. Let me get up and slide a few more games might have one last stack I can get. Yeah. One last stack I can pull over here. We're going to start with Sentinels of the Multiverse. Sentinels of the Multiverse is going to be kind of a deck construction game, or a constructed deck game, where you play as different superheroes against different supervillains and their schemes in different settings. I was able to pick up a ton of it for cheap. This is a very full box, and I have 2 more that are almost as full, and it's going to be leaving my collection just because, well, I picked this up early in my time with Marvel Champions, and if I'm going to play a superhero themed game, it's going to be Marvel Champions, not Sentinels of the Multiverse. So I already have the other 2 boxes in the culling pile. I will sell it as a lot, and I can actually make back almost all the money I think that I paid for that. So that's exciting. Next up, two that are staying, just because I'm not going to go through and, well, I know not everything's in this one. And I'm going to try it, see if it works. If it doesn't work with the missing piece or so, I'll just toss it. I think it cost me $5. And then Tea Dragon Society, another one picked up from when Fantasy Flight Game Center was having a sale clearing out their demo shelf. So I hope all the cards are in here. We'll see. If they aren't, see if it's playable. If they are, it's a game that eventually gonna play with Toddler when he's older. Speaking of a game to play with a toddler, this one doesn't have to get that much older. Rhino Hero Super Battle. This one I got for the toddler, and I also got for myself because it's one of the more commonly talked about dexterity games out there where you are stacking. And I don't have that many dexterity games, well, actually only one really, where stacking is the dexterity element. Catapult Feud, you do stack stuff to begin, but that's just building out your castle, and if that gets knocked down at that point, well, that doesn't matter so much because the game hasn't started yet. So Rhino Hero Super Battle, it's going to be a big stacking one. You stack up buildings that are these cards, and you're battling up to the top and seeing, well, who can not knock down the tower. So definitely sticking around, and it's one that I haven't played yet but do need to play. And another one that's going to be sticking around that I need to play still is going to be Fireball Island, The Curse of Volkart. So I picked this up from Target, and to just kind of do a little history of picking this up from Target, I spotted it at Target and it was for $30. And I was like, that's insane. This game I knew was a $70 game, and online retailers are probably $60 for the game. I was like, $30, that doesn't make sense. And I grabbed it at that price. I was like, okay, they have to have mispriced this. If this rings up at $30, I'm getting it for sure. But they hadn't mispriced it, and I know a number of people who grabbed this version of Fireball Island at Target for $30 when it's the full version, and that was because Target was getting a Target-specific version. Going to be one that has a smaller setup, less to it, and that was stuck on ships. They hadn't made it in time, so Target bought up what Restoration Games had and distributed it to their targets, and they sold it at the price that the new game was going to be sold at. So if you were lucky and you heard about it, and it was all over the board game groups on Facebook, things like that, you could get the game for a really good price. Now that pissed off some of the backers who paid more for it on the Kickstarter. And I feel very little sympathy for them. So one, Target is a big company. They are going to throw their weight around like that. There's not that much that you can really do to say, oh no, Target, we're not going to let you pay us money to get all our current stock so that you can sell it because we don't like money. We're worried about insulting a small percentage of the backers who have had this game for several years at this point. And so their complaint is they paid more to have a game well before the people who picked it up at Target did. Yeah, I would do the exact same thing Restoration Games did, which is make sure that you maintain a good relationship with a massive chain so that you can potentially do more business with them in the future. That's basic business practices there. And honestly, even with the Kickstarter and the price difference, it's still like I said, you're only insulting a few people with that who are choosing to be insulted by it. So yeah. Next up, another one that is going to stay. I grabbed this one used, local game store or bookstore as well. This one is Tannhauser. Tannhauser is an Eldritch World War II or World War One, I think 2 game with. I mean, it's one that's been on my radar for a long time, and it's almost been impossible to find. This was in and out of print pretty quickly, and by the time I was very active in the board game community, in the board game hobby, like this came out in 2007, so I wasn't that active at that point in time. That was when I was graduating college. I didn't have money to spend on board games. I was spending it on beer. Now I have money to spend on board games and, well, as much whiskey probably as beer at this point. But yeah, that one is sticking in the collection. It has been one that I've been looking for a long time, so when I spotted it, I hopped on it. Let me slide up the next groups. And actually, let me slide up the final 2 groups, because that's how little there is left. First up, one that is going to be leaving, even though I enjoy this game a lot, is Merchant's Cove. And this has everything with it. Merchant's Cove is a light game where everybody has their own separate engine that they are building. This has all the expansions in it, came from Kickstarter. I didn't back it on Kickstarter, I picked it up after the fact. And you're basically using and creating your own engine, which is done in a different way for everybody, to then get goods. And then when merchants come in to different locations, different docks, you can then sell those goods to them for various amounts of money and or points. It's fun. It's actually less difficult to teach than you think it would be because everybody's doing something different. And it's less difficult because the puzzles or the different things people are doing are not that complex. There's some really fun ones in there and really great pieces to this game. This is a gorgeous looking game on the table. It's leaving because I want this game to actually be playable at 4. For me, this is a 2-player game. I haven't played it solo. It's not the type of game I normally would play solo. If I'm going to do something with this massive a table presence, I'm going to do more of a campaign or scenario-driven game versus picking an engine and working with that sort of game. So, yeah, that one unfortunately is going because I like it, but it's just so big and light for a realistically a 2-player game. At 3, and I have played it at 3, it's just too long. And the puzzles are good. I had a blast. So I played as the pirate, seen the oracle played. I played as the innkeeper, and the innkeeper and pirate both completely different. And the innkeeper was a lot of fun to play. Really created this unique kind of puzzle of how you were bringing in the different merchants to the different docks. But all in all, it's one that just takes up a little bit too much room for what it is. Sticking around, one that I've waited for to go on sale, has gone on sale several times, finally pulled the trigger on it. That's going to be Atlantis Rising. Atlantis Rising 2nd edition. This is going to be a cooperative game where you are basically working to create this portal to get out of Atlantis before the island sinks. And the island has these puzzle type pieces that you remove as the island sinks, and that removes different spots where you can do actions. The further out you go, the better those actions are going to be, but you might not end up getting that action if that part of the island ends up sinking. 1 to 7 players, 60 to 120 minutes. I'm assuming longer with more players, though you do a few things kind of at the same time, which is fun. That one's going to stick around for sure. Pour myself a touch more whiskey. Actually, I'm probably just going to kill the bottle. Not that much left. Next, another one kind of in the same vein as a Catapult Feud. This one I just got recently. Coconuts. Coconuts this is another one that's eventually for the toddler. Can't do it yet. I think he could figure it out, but we have 2 new kittens, which will show up on a stream at some point in time. They're just too rambunctious for this quite yet, and they're definitely too rambunctious for this. Same with Catapult Feud. That one might have to be taken to somebody else's place to get played, or the kittens sent to the basement, because they will definitely be after these coconuts or projectiles being launched. 2 here real quick to talk about. Staying, Solomon Kane, 2 different expansions for it. Need to play the game still, but sticking around. I know I'm putting it on the side of generally things that I get rid of, but the floor is fairly full over here. Next, another one that is staying because I want to spend more time with it. We have Perdition's Mouth. So you can watch a video I did on it. I pulled it out so we could talk about it this time. Perdition's Mouth is going to be a dungeon crawl game without all that much luck or randomness to it. It's going to be a dungeon crawl game where all the actions are done off of a rondel, and you decide how far you push ahead on that rondel. It's a good one. You have action, I think I mentioned, you have action points. So that does limit how far you can go on the rondel because you're spending them as you go. And then if you want to move, well, those action points also help with that. So there's a lot going on in the game, though each action that you can take off of the rondel is pretty simple. And there's just really good decision-making depth of when you play cards to boost different abilities, different attacks, different movement, whatever it might be, so that you can take out the bad guys, but also then you always want to be moving towards the exit. So I said there was another roll and write. We're going with a super classic roll and write Yahtzee here. But this is not just Yahtzee. We have dominoes, we have Dutch Blitz, and we have rook cards in here. I do not remember how to play rook for the life of me. But these are all going to stay just classic games. Grew up playing. I don't actually need the dominoes anymore, but well, because I have a nicer set of dominoes. I think I almost need another score pad. Getting down there on this one. But classic roll and write. It's going to stick with the classic games, not the roll and write games on the shelf. But it's a nice one that, too, with a box that I can just kind of load up. This is one that I haven't played. And it's gonna get gotten rid of. Dragon Ball Z. It's a fun theme. I haven't actually watched Dragon Ball Z. I've watched some Dragon Ball Super, and I liked it. I've seen a little bit of Dragon Ball Z. I've read a bunch of it. I enjoy it a lot. This game looks like a fun, little simple game. Probably a good one for families or maybe less gamery people than me. I mean, it does have a nice multi-level board here. But I picked it up to play with some friends. Since then, we've both had kids. So, yeah, that's not getting played anytime soon. Cribbage set, that is going to stay. I like cribbage. I have a nicer cribbage board. I'm going to have to find a time to play cribbage because that is just a gorgeous board that I need to play on. Going to be sticking around. Now, some classic games here. Scrabble. So there are a couple classic games that I do like. Scrabble and Clue. I like both these games. Scrabble is fun because people think it's about how good your vocabulary is. Unless you also know, well, your two-letter Scrabble words, which I know some of them. But Scrabble, pattern recognition, blocking, setting up scoring on two different axes on your turn. That's what Scrabble is about. So my vocabulary is quite strong. My spelling is solid. But my ability to do pattern recognition is phenomenal. So it's a one that I'm quite good at. And Clue, deduction game, simple deduction game that I've played. I probably would have played that 3.5, 4 years ago last. Longer for Scrabble, but still gonna stick in the collection. And that's gonna be the case for one of these 3 games as well. I'm going to get rid of 2 of them. So Skippo is going to be staying because there is some strategy in Skippo. There's decision-making points in Skippo. So I'm going to stick around. Uno, there are not. Uno is a very simple take that game that I do appreciate the fact they're honest. They do not have a time as to how long Uno is going to take, because a game might take 5 minutes or it might take 5 years. You just don't know. That is gone. And Phase 10 is a little bit like that. And I actually want to get a game that compares very closely to Phase 10. I want to pick up 5 Crowns. 5 Crowns, you're doing the same thing. You're trying to get sets and runs. But if you watched last stream, I talked about Quiddler. Quiddler is a word game, where you start out with 3 letters. You have to make a word. 4 letters, you have to make a word. 5 letters, you have to make a word. Well, 5 Crowns is the same way. 3 cards, you have to make a set or a run of 3. 4 cards, you have to make a set or a run of 4. 5 cards, you have to make a set or a run of 5. 6 cards, you can do 2 sets of 3, or a set of 3 and a run of 3, or a run of 6. Set of 6 I don't think is possible. But with phase 10, if you fail a phase, so 2 sets of 3 out of 10 cards, so you have more cards to play around with, you have to redo that. Whereas 5 crowns, to play the full game, it is 3 to 10, I believe, in terms of cards. 7 rounds, game will be done because somebody will have gone out each time. Fatal, I'm glad you could catch me live. I have precisely 2 games left to talk about. And it is annoying that your notifications never work. But I think... So, to catch you up, I'm getting rid of Merchant's Cove, Sentinels in the Multiverse, Kuruba the card game, a Dragon Ball Z game, and then Uno and Phase 10, which I think, let's see, takes me up to 45 games, 46 games that I'm culling for my collection, which is a lot. And hopefully I can sell almost all of those, because I don't want to come back with any of them. And there's a chance that even once I'm done selling, if I have enough left, that I'm just going to take them immediately to the local game store where I can trade them in. So next up, we have an unsleeved 8-bit box. 8-bit box is a game system that Yellow made, and it basically is supposed to be kind of like a retro video game style system where you can pull out your cartridge. It has pieces for your game. I think there are some actual pieces under part of it, and then you have like this controller type thing that determines some of what you do. You have your A, B, C, D, up, down, well, fully directional, counter. I picked this up a while ago, used store credit on it, and I have yet to play it. So that's going to go into the get rid of pile, sell pile as well. It's a cool idea, but having to sit down and learn basically a new game every time to play something different. Yeah, I'm going to try and sell it, and I probably won't sell it for the amount that they did at the game store, but my goal is to come back from that sale with as few games as possible and some cold hard cash or some money in a Venmo. But really, to get rid of a bunch of games and probably come back having spent a decent chunk of that money to get some games that I'm more interested in now. And finally, last game, chess. So this is Chess by Fundex. It's a decent little wood thing. The best part about this chess game is the chess instructmon. These instructions are phenomenal. You probably can't read them all that well. And that's fine, because if you could read them, you would not be able to play chess. With it just makes, like, there's spelling errors. Like this is the same quality of writing that you get in a mass spam, like, phishing thing, like, you know, it is horrible. You could not play chess with that, which is fine, because most people don't actually need to learn the rules for chess, because somebody has taught them chess. Nobody, well, not nobody, but very few people learn chess from the rules. Now, this one's interesting, because part of me feels like, okay, I have a board game collection, I should have chess in it. At the same time, another part of me is like, I've maybe played my chess set 2 times in I don't know how many years. If I can sell this nice wooden chess set for $15, $10, it's probably worth more to me as the money than it is as a game that I keep around for the off chance I'm going to play it. So chess is going on the chopping block, which I think this was saying I was at 45. So let's see. I have a count at 1 point: 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48 games to leave the collection. And 48 games leaving the collection, enough of them are probably unplayed that my unplayed list of games is now under 100. And that was kind of one of my goals for the end of the year, was to try and be under 100 games on my shelf that I haven't played. I don't have to have played my copy, I just want to have played it. Though I do have a few games coming in which are going to push it back closer to that. So today I ordered Ghost of Christmas, which is a trick-taking game. Oh no. Oh, Fatal. Only 99%. That's pretty good, actually. Only 99% unplayed. But maybe we should get on that and get a couple of them played. Try and knock off a couple more this year, since, I mean, you want to keep it at that 99% with those Kickstarters that you have coming in, and you know the games you'll buy off of eBay. So gotta keep it in line. So I was saying Ghost of Christmas, which is a trick-taking game where you have basically 3 tricks you're playing at once, past, present, and future. So kind of the Christmas Carol sort of thing. And the trump suit can change in between those tricks, as well as then you're bidding to take a specific number of those tricks. And yeah, it seems really interesting. I also picked up through Board Game Tables. So Board Game Tables did Ghost of Christmas, also QE. QE is basically a bidding game where you bid to get businesses, and you can bid whatever number you want. You only know what the winning bid number is, and the person who spends the most money at the end of the game automatically loses. So you're thinking about that, but if I bid 10 million, then I bid 10 million and 10 million, and I keep on getting everything, eventually, well, nobody's going to win because I have everything I bid the most, and, well, nobody wins. So the numbers just start going crazy. Pricing every bid at $1. I feel like that's a good way not to win at QE. And then I picked up 2 games through Colossal, but that are actually through Chili Fox Games, which is a company out of Norway. And as Phelan knows, I'm 100% Norwegian, even though he claims I'm Swedish. So, yeah, I'm not Swedish. But, let's see. The first is Doodle Dash. And Doodle Dash is basically a drawing game where one person's it. There's a card that's flipped over with a word on it. They don't see it. Everybody else draws a picture as fast as possible. The first person to call their picture good enough takes a marker to say, okay, the guesser's going to look at my picture first. The second person grabs a die, and they start rolling it. Eventually they roll a stop sign, and everybody else has to stop. And the first 2 people go in order. So there's a reason to rush your drawing, even though it might look horrible or like something that is 100% not what you were trying to draw. Yep, and you certainly can draw incorrect things. It won't help you win the game, but if you've had enough whiskey, that might be worth it. And the other one is Riverside from Chili Fox Games, and that is Nas's favorite type of game, a roll and write. But it's a roll and write where you have this river, it might even be a fjord, where you're sailing up and down, you're picking up people, dropping them off, kind of doing touristy thing, and you're trying to time up when you get people with how the boat moves on, well, probably on the river, since it is called Riverside, so probably not a fjord, but trying to get that set up correctly so that you can score the most points. It sounds like a interesting roll and write style game, so one that I wanted to grab and have wanted to grab for a while. It's just been really hard to find until now. Like I said, Colossal has brought them over. I feel like I should find 2 more games to call, so I can be at an even 50. No, I don't like crossword puzzles. But like I was saying, I feel like I should find 2 more games to take it to an even 50. I'm actually looking at the roll and write section for a couple of games, like Drawn to Adventure, Copenhagen, Dino World, and Dinosaur Island Roll and Write, as well as actually the 49. I might toss out Cat Cafe, and then Silver and Gold. Those are all ones that I can. Well, a few of those I want to play. Cat Cafe I have played. It is decent. I wouldn't mind trying it with a few more players, but yeah, that one might go because it's not as good of a roll and write as some out there, and I could probably find one more game. So let me grab Cat Cafe off here. One more game to make sure that I do hit 50. What could it be? No, I'm gonna keep those. Want to try those? No, not gonna be that one. The issue is there's a number of games where I'm like, okay, I want to try this game. Or something like Splendor, where I'm fine if I never play Splendor again, but my wife enjoys it and it's one that she can teach, so that's going to stick in the collection. What should it be? And I mean, I have time right now to figure it out. Just seeing if there's anything that jumps off the shelf at me, figuratively. There's one that I'm just probably not going to play. Yeah, nope, nothing is jumping off the shelf. So, we are stopping at 49 games for right now. I do fully expect, and maybe I'll pull it off the shelf and play with my wife this weekend. Copenhagen Roll and Write. I suspect that's not going to be one that sticks around. I think that it's going to be one I play it, I'm like, okay, this is fine. Even you think that Descent is trying to jump all the way over to you? No. This one's staying here. This one is staying for me. I really do want to play it. Was Copenhagen the one with the transparent things? I don't think there's anything transparent in Copenhagen Roll and Write. I think it's like a Tetris-y type fill stuff in sort of thing. It's based off of a Euro game. I just picked it up at the previous one for $5. So it was like, somebody was selling, let's see, it was Copenhagen. Imperial Settlers, Roll and Write. And I swear there was one more. But maybe I already got rid of that one. I think I grabbed 3 Roll and Writes because they were $5 each. The deluxe version of Copenhagen might have had transparent pieces. Yeah, there were 3 Roll and Writes that I grabbed from her table, and I think they are all leaving or have left. Because, yeah, I don't see the other one anywhere on the shelf. They're worth trying. Yeah, the original Copenhagen is a polyomino game, which is why, like, the Copenhagen Roll and Write here, unfortunately I can't play it solo, but you can kind of see, maybe, over here, like, filling in Tetris type shapes. We'll see. I wish this had a solo. Do it. I would knock it out about right now, but it doesn't, so I'm not going to. Actually, maybe maybe have game 50. I'm looking at it on the shelf here. So not even counting the Copenhagen Roll and Write. I don't have Hadrian's Wall. I really do want to get... Like, that is a roll and write for sure that I want to get my hands on at some point. I want to try... Well, I want to buy Hadrian's Wall. I could have picked it up used. Not sure why I didn't. Over the weekend. Or, yeah, over the weekend, I guess. Maybe Friday. But I do want to pick that one up. But the one I might be getting rid of is the Hobbit board game. The Hobbit board game, I talked about that probably 3 times ago, is interesting because it's like semi-cooperative in nature. No, that one's going to stay. It has really nice gem pieces to it. It's a good, different feeling game to it. Oh, did Nerd Shelves, did they play Three Sisters? Was that the one? Because that is one, so that's by the creators, designers of Fleet the Dice game, that has kind of a gardening, farming theme to it. And I want to try Three Sisters. They actually just did on Kickstarter Motor City as well, which is like Detroit 70s heyday, building cars, kind of building up your factory engine and engines that way, that I was kind of intrigued with. But my experience thus far with Fleet the Dice game, which is the only one that I have of theirs or from those designers, is it's fun. It's decent solo. I do want to try it multiplayer. I think it'd be more fun multiplayer. And having watched some reviews, so like Quackalope and Board Game Co. for Three Sisters, it seems like they do a lot of fairly similar things in all their games. So I think I'm probably just going to stick with Fleet. If somebody else has Three Sisters or somebody gets Motor City, I will certainly play them, and maybe I'll find that I like them better than Fleet, and so I'll kind of be swapping them out. But right now I'm not going to spend my own money on that. I'm gonna wait and let somebody else pick it up for me. And I mean, I know for a fact that I can never play Nas's copy. Yeah, Nas has all of them. He requested the prototype version of Motor City just so that he wouldn't have to wait. But that's what I had for today. I wanted to go through that last chunk of games. The only thing that I really haven't talked about in my game collection that's not going anywhere right now is going to be Magic cards. Like, I have a few commander decks for that I haven't used in ages. I'm just going to keep them around because, well, one, I had fun putting together, building them, and playing them, so I've sold off almost all the rest of my Magic stuff, so might as well keep a few decks around just for the off chances that I do play. Yeah, Nas, I'm really glad that you're so happy about the theme, though I will point out that while this might be 420 today, it is growing pumpkins and corn and things like that. So I don't know if that will dampen your enthusiasm at all. But with that, I'm going to wrap up the stream because Moon Knight episode 4 is out and I want to get that checked out. So thank you all for joining me for the stream. I hope that this has kind of been fun going through the collection, seeing all 49 games that I'm going to be getting rid of, well, selling, and then whatever doesn't sell, taking to my friendly local game store and trading it in for whatever store credit I can get. So thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying this content, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and know that Voldemort kills Mark at the end of the episode. So, subscribe, click that notification bell. That will tell everybody but Fatal when I go live. So, that bottoms up.